We're live.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad to see you back once again to discuss with us with pleasure what art and freedom of speech actually do represent in this twisted world of ours. Um, Hello again. It's the third stream for free speech, a live stream where we discuss culture, art, and expression, freedom of expression, while looking at pretty drawings and nice art. As usual, I'm joined today with or by. How does it work? I can't speak English anymore. I'm French. I have an excuse. I have here my dear friend Jennifer Dawe. Hello, Jennifer.
Hello.
And I have the pleasure to have someone who is much more famous and actually relevant than I am. Harmful Opinions as a guest
Hey,
today.
thanks for inviting me on.
Well, it's a pleasure. Thanks for being there. And I'd like to present a friend of mine that works on a project with me, Dean Mamnev, who will be the artist today. He's drawing doors for now.
Yep.
Anyway, that's the artist we've got, and he'll show off his own skills. And I'm John Kraft, the French of service, as we usually say, all of us. And I hope everyone can get a decent time and have fun and enjoy the stream once again. Where I'm going to mention it right away because I know myself and I know I'm going to forget it. Next week I'm on a holiday. I'm going to l'île de Ré, so I won't be there and there won't be a stream. So apologies for that. But we're going to be in August, we're allowed. And yeah, just to warn everyone, sorry, no stream next week. But obviously we're going to see you in a few weeks, in supposedly 2 weeks, unless something happens, I guess. Harmful opinions or harmful opinion?
Whatever you want, mate. You can call me Ho if you so wish.
Okay, I'm going to
absolutely
avoid
anything.
That. I won't call you a hoe because I don't want to get too hard on you.
Sorry, what?
On you.
You don't want to get too hard, mate.
Anyway, I'm going to call you Mr. Opinions for this stream. I feel it's quite fitting.
Very well.
Why don't you present yourself a little?
Present myself. I like making videos. I like talking about all sorts of stuff, whether it's just about video games press, about things that are happening in the news that piss me off or otherwise just interest me, and I try to provide a unique angle as much as I can.
Okay, well, I've watched a few of your videos, and there's always a part of a insight and trying to clarify and explain specific issues and discussions and topics.
I also like to make fun of people.
Yeah, don't we all? I see also that you edit a few videos. Harmful edits. That's the name of those.
Oh yeah, harmful remixes. I decided to go full Macintosh. I decided if he's gonna do it, I'll be like the evil version. I'll be the dark side video editor. Clip things people say together, make them say stupid things, reverse what they're saying. I do quite enjoy doing that as well, yes.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine enjoying doing that. Don't you feel a bit like you're stealing people's words and twisting them in a certain way, like they spoke, they had an opinion, and you transformed it?
Perhaps if it were convincing that it was like they were saying that, maybe, but it's very obviously an edit, right?
Yeah.
So I think as long as it's very, very clear that I'm not presenting you this as if they'd actually said it, and it's clear that I'm messing with it, I don't feel like that at all. The first time I did it, I was like, I felt a bit naughty. It was very exciting. I've taken what someone said, I've messed with it. I can't remember what the first one was. I think it was taking Chris Cluey and changing it so that he said
I think that
he was
the one.
Yeah, I changed it for him to say he's a Gamergate supporter and saying Sarah Butts is a harasser and stuff like that. It felt a bit naughty, but now I'm used to it. And it's like it's obvious what I'm doing. No one's going to be fooled by it. It's so jumping around, but it's funny as well.
I'm asking you because I was expecting actually. Did you get any kind of trouble, even just on Twitter, people yelling at your face, sorry, telling you, "Oh, you're totally twisting what I said," etc. Have you ever come
No,
into?
I haven't come across that whatsoever.
Well, people don't care, or they.
I don't know. What's really strange is all my other social media accounts and anything I've done online, I have gotten abuse before, messages and stuff like that. This channel, where I'm being deliberately provocative, I go out of my way to be a bit over the top. No one's bothered me.
I think they're
Literally
afraid.
no one. Probably.
It's the voice. It's the disembodied voice.
Some poor guy on Twitter messaged me or something, and just nicely, and I went into his timeline and I favorited something, and he messaged me to say, "Please just leave me alone. I'll never tweet at you again."
Oh my god.
Like you're danger. You're actually dangerous. You're putting in his life on the line. You know that there's a bit of the fact that on Twitter you can kind of control how a conversation goes. You can make it stop whenever you feel like. You can pretty much as well decide what the other person said. This person said that, and I decided to interpret it this specific way, and this is what they said. They decided to be assholes, or they decided to support me, or whatever. This is how I understood it, therefore this is what they said. On YouTube videos, in streams and all of that, it's a little bit more complicated during an actual conversation, or even a monologue, to twist people's intentions and words and meaning, you know? I suppose there's a bit of that.
Yeah, and there's also, if you're talking to someone, like in a stream, and it's clear they're misinterpreting you and trying to run with it, you can say, "Stop right there, motherfucker. That is not what I meant." Whereas on Twitter, they won't even necessarily deliberately twist it and say that to you. They'll grab it, go off somewhere else with their mates, and then say, "Look what this guy said, this is what he meant." And they can omit little bits and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, the outrage culture, the idea to, hey, look at this person and shame them, and I totally decide. Yeah, exactly, storify. Jesus, oh my god.
I'm always amazed at how people like I really think about what I'm gonna say, because like I was, you know, trained to do that, you know, carefully craft tweets and you know, things like that for engagement. And somehow I just like, people are like, it's like I'm speaking a different language, and they're like, oh, so you believe in harassment. And I'm like,
yeah.
How did you get that from that? Why, like, nobody thinks harassment is okay, but I guess they're coming from the, like, even the people who are harassing people, they don't think it's okay. They think it's funny, but they know it's not okay. Otherwise, it wouldn't be exciting to do.
That brings another topic that I feel is important: the idea of rape culture, and we have to teach boys not to rape and all of that. I think it very amusing as a topic. Not the topic of rape. Rape is not always hilarious. But the fact is
not
that,
always, just most of the time.
Oh Jesus, dude! We're going to get in big trouble because of that. This stream is going to get shut down in 5 minutes. But the thing is, no one thinks that rape is good, except maybe in some lost tribe, in uncivilized countries, something like that. Perhaps, even then, I'd assume that they understand that if someone is harmed that way, it's not a good thing. But there's the fact is, even rapists themselves, they that don't say, yes, I indeed committed a crime. I'm sorry. I will go to hell. They try to construct the idea that what they did wasn't rape. Rape is bad, but what I did wasn't actually rape. It wasn't rape because, I don't know, because she was drunk, because she was dressed in a slutty way, or whatever else. I don't know. That's not what arguments they use is theirs. But the thing is, to them, even to people who quote unquote defend rapists, even they know that rape is bad. They're just inventing excuses to express how it totally wasn't rape. this person didn't actually commit rape. That's what's important. Nobody thinks that rape is a good thing. No one.
Do you have an example of what you mean?
Well, yeah, there's the example of she was dressed in a slutty way. She asked for it, so it wasn't rape. She was asleep, so she couldn't say no.
No, but I mean, are you talking about an actual instance of this happening that you're aware of, or is this just hypothetical?
I'm sure I've heard of things like that. I couldn't quote anything, so don't quote me on that either. But it's yeah, I'm sure that there are cases where there were there was a case a few years ago in America, and more than a few years ago, more than that as well, of there was a town, an American small town, and they had a football culture, and the quarterback or something like that raped a girl, and everyone basically defended the guy because he was the quarterback, he was the very important sports guy, and they couldn't afford to lose the most important player in the team. And so everyone defending him, saying, but she asked for it, but she was dressed in a slutty way, etc. Or another example, in like something like 30 years ago, maybe a bit less than 30 years ago, it was still legal in France to rape your own wife. She was your wife, so there's no rape in marriage. And yeah, it was in the law that if you raped a woman you had married, well, it wasn't considered rape. Well, it wasn't written like that, obviously, but the fact is, you couldn't be considered a rapist like you would if you raped some other girl or some other guy. I don't know what your tastes are, but yeah.
I think the only issue is people confuse telling someone to protect themselves with it being their fault.
Mm.
Like in the cases of don't go out late at night dressed in things that are easy to tear off. Like they tell you that about your purse, right? There's a reason why there's an extra buckle on your purse strap, and it's not just because to tighten and loosen the strap. It's because it makes it harder to hold you with it, but it also makes it harder to just rip off you. So there's just some things that I'm just you can't. There are some people in this world that are animals that are never going to stop. So the best thing you can do is try to prevent it from happening. If you don't want to, that is also your choice.
Exactly.
But,
as long as you understand the notion of responsibility, of personal individual responsibility.
And crime happening to you is never your fault, but you don't need to senselessly be murdered because you're indignant, and that's generally what happens, right? There's no need for someone to die of indignance because they're just oh, I should be able to stroll up this street, by myself in, the worst part of town with, men can't do that either. I had somebody try to yank somebody into a car the other night. They were following them around and they tried to yank them into a car. So this was a full-grown man trying to kidnap another full-grown man. So it's just nobody has the right, to never be on alert, because I'm on alert.
This is this strange special approach people seem to have to sexual assault, where I'd say everyone, like you say, should be ready to protect themselves or make smart decisions about going out at night. Don't go down dark alleys, whatever. But then you think about the dangers women may be more likely to face in that situation, such as sexual assault rather than just being mugged. And for some reason they start saying she shouldn't have to worry about that, therefore she shouldn't have to defend herself. Where I haven't heard that said about men protecting themselves from something like mugging. It seems to be a division people have to do with sexual assault. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that.
When it's 3 a.m. And you've drunk, you're completely drunk, and you're alone, and you have a dark alley, and you don't go down the dark alley, or you take a taxi, etc. Whether you're male or female, that's not even the point. The point is there is a risk. You are a target. You are an easy target, and people who want to harm you, they don't harm you just because you look good or look bad or whatever else. It's not because of your looks that they're going to attack you, unless they are say serial killers or something like that. Then they have a modus operandi, and that's their own fucking issue. I know my shit. I watched a few police shows. You know, I totally know my shit. But still, it's you are a target because you're drunk, so you will be. It will be difficult for you to defend yourself because it's very late, so no one is going to hear you or see you. It's in a dark alley, so the same thing, etc., etc. People who want to harm you, they will look for reasons. They will look for circumstances, not looks. They will look for, okay, harming this person will be made easier because of all those circumstances. This is what they actually think about. I'd assume. I have never done such a thing.
Well, and if you choose to ignore advice, that's fine. You know, that's fine. No, it does not make you responsible for the crime, but I don't like this idea that we're allowed to feel like we should never, ever have to feel in danger. 4% of the population is psychotic, and there is nothing you can do about that. Nothing.
I tend to think when it comes to these opportunists, the people who will get you just because they can, I imagine those weren't the people who would listen very much in school. And if you try to do preventative measures, teach men not to rape, okay, the kids who are going to be listening to that are not going to be the people who I would imagine are likely to do something like that in the first place.
Absolutely, and
that reminds me of the fucking stupid metaphor of I don't know if you've heard the M&M's bowl. You have 100 M&M's and you have only 10% of the M&M's that are poisoned. Therefore, you wouldn't eat a single M&M. You will be cautious about the entire bowl, even though there's only 10% of them. So that's how we feel about men raping, about rape, etc. And I think that's fucking retarded. First off,
it applies to any demographic.
Yeah, exactly. But there's also the fact that even if there was a single M&M that was poisoned in the 100 M&M's bowl, I wouldn't eat a single M&M of it. I wouldn't, because I know that one of them is. I wouldn't try. I'm not stupid, even if there was one single M&M. And also the fact that I can also say that there are a lot of whatever else that are murderers that have killed, that have stolen, that have committed a specific crime, and there are a case of it's 5% of this ethnicity or this gender group or this class of people, etc., who have committed this, and it's only 5%. But you know, you wouldn't eat a bowl with 100 M&Ms and 5 of them were poisoned. You know, you would never do such a thing. You can use this in any way you feel like. So that's irrelevant to the specific topic, and that's completely useless anyway, because even if it was just 0.1% that was poisoned and could kill me, I still wouldn't eat a single M&M out of the fucking bowl.
But you only need to prevent actions, not people. That's the thing, is they're trying to take something that's, I want to be personally cautious about this demographic, and turning it into, this is inherent to that demographic. It's like, well, that's not really how it works. I can be as cautious as I want about women with strollers who like to ram into the back of me if I don't get away fast enough. I don't get what's that. They like ram into the back of somebody who's limping. Like, what is wrong with you? And like, I'm cautious of those people, but I don't get to say that, like, oh, all mothers are horrible and they beat up disabled people. Like, I would never do that.
Well, they are, but that's not the thing.
They need to make baby strollers that if you get too close to the person in front of you, it just fucking zaps you.
Yeah.
How do you call it? Those little things that to make people cry. Those little bombs that you can put in your purse to make people cry. How is it called?
The mace.
Mace. That's right, mace.
Yeah.
You need to use mace against those mothers.
I look at them and I'm like, what do you want me to do? Wear a dog tag that says "Don't ram me, bro"? Like what? Like what do you want? And they give me dirty looks, and it's the same on the bus where there's like seating for people who can't walk very well, and like the mothers get on the bus and they're like, huh, I should get this space. It's like that sign over there. It has a wheelchair on it. It doesn't have a stroller. Like, excuse me. Most of the time I do move for them, but I don't move for the ones that give me dirty looks. No,
Okay.
thank you.
If someone sits in a seat like that, you should be able to change them so that the seat is then suitable for them.
Yeah.
First world problems. I don't even get how that's totally stream about art and culture. That's obviously what we're discussing today. We can see that talking about rape culture and about mothers and strollers in the bus.
Hey,
And all
you were
this.
the one who started on rape culture.
Yeah, I know. That's my fault. That's my fault. Well, I'll ask Dean as well. Dean, would you like to say a few things to present yourself? 20 minutes later, after the stream started, but would you like to mention a few things about yourself, Dean, or not?
What would you like to hear, though?
Well, your experience as an artist, for example. How did you become an artist, and why?
Let's see. I started by playing with MS Paint, editing Sonic sprites.
Didn't we all?
Of course, like almost every other little kid, I would doodle in my notebooks at school, much to the chagrin of my teacher, because my grades were typically not very good.
I see.
But then again, it's elementary stuff. Let's see. When Halo 3 was still in development, they released a making-of video where they were using Wacom tablets. And after seeing that, I'm like, this is what I want to do with my life. And also, someone posted a link once on a Sonic forum, how to draw Sonic the Hedgehog. And my dad saw me drawing that. He goes, what are you doing that for? Nobody needs that. Nobody needs your stupid little drawings.
What color were his arms?
Oh my god.
I started with Knuckles.
Knuckles and everything.
Yeah.
Sonichu and Knuckles.
I do hope you never fell in. I'm glad that you never became a Sonichu then. I'm glad you never did.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, poor thing. Poor Christian.
Here's another request.
When my dad said that,
combine Knuckles with someone. Right now, live. Just make a new character, make an original character, and demand that people do not steal it.
OC.
You're serious about this, aren't you?
DeviantArt, do not steal my poses, even though I traced them out of a new book.
We're having originality right there, guys. Right there, fellas.
Flashbacks from...
You don't have to do this. You don't have to obey to his demands,
Okay. Should I do it anyway?
Yes.
Okay,
Jesus Christ.
What's the next topic?
Well, Dean, did you want to add anything, or?
Well, I was gonna say that when my dad said that to me, like nobody needs your stupid little drawings. That's when I made that true decision. This is exactly what I want to do with my life.
Of course.
That stupid teenage angst.
I definitely
If you,
get it.
Dad.
Exactly.
Of
course, without them, I would have never gotten anywhere.
Well, that's a good thing that your father mistreated you that way, because thanks to him we've got you. We've got you as an artist now. So thank God your father was kind of a dick to you.
You hear that, parents? Man, dick to your kids. Every time.
I
Just imagine how much better his art would be if he'd been sexually abused.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Shit. Okay, that might be a bit...
You could have
Oh,
been the
fuck.
next HR Giga.
Oh my God, fuck. Or
Oh God,
the next
no.
Hitler, maybe.
What are we
Um,
talking about now?
what? What the hell?
Uh, H.R.
Okay.
Geiger has a lot of like male rape in his artwork, and that's literally what he said it was. People were like, "Oh, I think you're speculating. Let's ask him what it really means." And he's like, "Yeah, it's about rape." And it's like, "Oh, well, that's great. You're
All
really
of a sudden,
expressing yourself."
yeah, your enjoyment of the art suddenly becomes a bit different. Yeah. Um. Anyway, thanks for that, Din, and thanks a lot for that, Mr. Opinions. That was good. Um, I'd like us to start talking about a specific topic today. First off, since we didn't have a stream last week, I didn't get to say that, but I present my condolences to Iwata's family. I was really touched when he did pass 2 weeks ago, and so I just wanted to mention that I really enjoyed the man's work and the man's worth in a way. He was something. He was a really influential and important creator and CEO, and he did help bring a lot of happiness to a lot of people. So I just wanted to mention that.
And after his death, he wanted to continue to bring happiness. So there's a Wii U controller, you know, the big screen one, connected to his grave, and you can see him in there, and you can like spin his body around.
Yeah, just like you know, in Nintendo World, sometimes you have a Charles Martinet that will actually voice a Mario that you can interact with on a screen, and he talks, he improvises. People ask questions to Mario, and you have Mario that actually replies and fools around and makes jokes and all of that. It's really fucking awesome, really. You have a few look up a few videos on YouTube of Mario in Nintendo World, and really it's just adorable. It's fun as shit. It's just it's childish, but it's exactly the kind of childishness that everybody needs.
I wonder if they're gonna make an Iwata amiibo. That'd be interesting.
I'd find it a bit grim, to be honest.
With actual bits of his hair.
Oh Jesus Christ!
Please, no.
Oh my God. They would have issues to get everyone to get an amiibo if they needed what is a hair to be included.
Well, and then
They
they
would
do
have
another run where they use his fingernails.
Oh Jesus Christ, dude! Holy fucking shit! Why did we invite this guy? Anyway. Anyway, that was just, I wanted to mention it last week and I didn't get to, so thanks for that. I wanted to start off with a topic that is very dear to our hearts, I'm sure, with people that are very important on the internet, that are part of the history of the internet, and we can all be glad about it. Obviously,
celebs.
No, not yet. Gawker, much more important, much more relevant. Gawker is a series of websites that include different topics like video games or sports or other kind of bullshit no one cares about. Recently they came under fire because they felt that it was a good idea to release information about a man that was married, heterosexual, that was living a heterosexual life, and yet apparently had sex with men, invited men to have sex with them, etc. So they outed him as gay just for the heck of it, just because it's fucking fun, you know. Doing that to people, it's fun as shit, right? And so they released that, and the internet, for once, thought that it wasn't a good thing to do, even though they have done this for nearly a decade now. They have always done this kind of shit. All of a sudden, when that time they did that, it became awful, which in a way is kind of a positive.
Because Gawker.
What?
Because Gawker did it. That makes it not
exactly.
okay.
When Gawker does it, it's good, except that this time it wasn't good. I don't really get what the logic behind people who used to read daily Gawker and Jezebel on Kotaku and all of that, how they find this logical, that all of a sudden it's bad. But
Yeah, but I'm not going to suddenly say, well, you guys didn't think all this other stuff was bad before, and now you do. So look, I'm going to suddenly stop saying it's bad because you agree with me.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not going to rail against them too much.
Yeah. If it's wrong, it's wrong. That's kind of how I feel about it. Because I've always disliked, the Gawker Jezebel combo. They do some growth hacking stuff that's considered quite unethical in advertising and stuff like that, and I'm just not a big fan of it.
The funniest thing they tried to pull was they were defending it by saying they were attacking power, but really they've sort of made this guy untouchable.
Yeah.
What I wanted to touch upon a little with the Gawker affair recently is the fact that you have Nick Denton that is in a bit of a tight spot right now because he's basically bleeding money, and his company is bleeding money, and so he realized that everyone was outraged at what his company released, and he pulled the article away. He said, "Well, okay, we'll take it off. And it was bad, and we're sorry, guys. We totally didn't mean to do that." But what's really important is the fact that most, if not all, of the editors, of the journalists, if we can call them that, said that it was a shame that the article was pulled, because Gawker used to be this bastion of free speech and liberty to be a journalist free of any editorial control and all that, and it was so good and it was so brave of Gawker to do this kind of stuff. And there's even Tommy Craggs and Max Red, two important editors at Gawker, who just quit, flat out left, and said, well, that's totally not what we got in Gawker for, and that's a terrible shame. I hope he feels awful, that Nick Denton feels awful for what he did. Well, they didn't say that, but that's pretty much what they meant. So everyone was defending the idea that, yeah, I want to do this kind of terrible shit, and I should be allowed to do this kind of terrible shit, and that is freedom of speech. And I'd like us to discuss a little bit this notion of how these people must work, and how. Usually, we're always the last two times we've discussed free speech. We've always been in complete defense of it and say, yeah, you have to allow people to express themselves, etc. In this specific case, shouldn't we understand that sometimes, well, limits are there, and it's a good thing that they're there.
This is a really interesting example because I believe they absolutely should have been able to, if it's true, if they can show it's true, if it's verifiably true. I don't think anyone should. Anyone outside of the company, if you're talking about should people be allowed to publish something like that if it's true, yeah. However, at the same time, I think it's absolutely unethical to do that, and they shouldn't have done it in the first place. The reason I say this is interesting is because you can nail anyone who works at Gawker from both sides. You can say where you work is shit because they put that up and they thought that was a good idea to put up. You can also nail them and say it is shit that the business side steps in when the whole thing about Gawker is they put anything up. Leave. There's nothing redeemable about Gawker. They put up horrible shit, and then they take away this. The whole point of it is to be, we put up horrible shit if it's true. They don't even do that anymore. What is good about Gawker? Why are you working there?
Yeah, I had someone who mentioned something interesting. I believe that privacy, the right to privacy, is more important than journalistic freedom in a way. So if someone wants to be kept private, to keep intimacy in a way, they should be allowed to, except if it's something political that has actual political relevance. And even then, there's a difficult line to draw, because, for example, if Obama turns out to be into fucking goats, Okay, sure, I guess. Why do we need to know that? Why should anyone even mention it? Uh, but the thing is, the right privacy is more important. It's more relevant than just saying, "Hey guys, we wanted to say that, and we're allowed to say that." Um, and
I
again,
basically agree, but what are you suggesting? Are you saying there should be legal intervention, or just that people shouldn't do that in the first place?
well, that's a bit easy for me to say because I'm French, and in France we have very specific laws with that, and there are a few, for example, there have been a few tabloids, gossip magazines, all of this shit that have been forced to, that have been punished legally because they shared information, personal information of celebrities and all that without their consent. And I doubt that it ever happened in America. Did it ever happen in America, this kind of stuff?
Gawker have had stuff pulled, I believe, as the result of lawsuits, but I don't think law just automatically intervenes if they've crossed a line.
Mm.
Right. It's more civil than anything. It's not really a criminal
Exactly.
thing in the US. And like the thing is, it's crappy and people should point out that it's crappy, and if it genuinely costs them something and there's really like what benefit to the public is there to know that somebody's gay and they're hiding it? Like if they want to hide it, like are they hurting someone by not being publicly gay? Like what are they doing to you
Mm.
by
That's
being gay?
that's part of of a specific culture as well. I'd assume. Um, there's
There is
yeah,
the angle of him
I
hiring a
feel it's
prostitute.
sorry, what?
Yeah, that's true.
There is the prostitution angle. It's not just outing him. It was them saying, look, this guy wanted to sleep with a male prostitute, and incidentally, that obviously shows you that he wants to have sex with men.
Mm.
Right.
But the thing is, there's a point that is very important. We mentioned how Gawker, a lot of people said, "Oh, Gawker is terrible because they did that," even though they spent their entire days reading Jezebel or Kotaku or whatever else. And the thing is, they're the ones who consume the sites, and the sites produce this content not because not even necessarily because they love this content or they think that it's great that this content is there. They do that because it works. They do that because they have an audience, because they have people that are ready to give them money to pay their rent if they produce this specific content. And even if the content is absolutely terrible, you have a specific audience. And sadly, that means that, yeah, there will be someone ready to produce it, ready to produce this content. And so I put the guilt much more on people who read Gawker than Gawker itself. Gawker is terrible. Gawker is fucking assholes. They're garbage. But it's not really. They're merely obeying. If people who read Gawker decide tomorrow, well, from now on you stop saying that kind of stuff and you start talking about cute dogs. And you talk about nothing else, well, Gawker will talk about cute dogs and absolutely nothing else because they're absolute slaves to their audience. There, okay, well, what will get us money? What will get us hits? This, well, we'll do that. And so I'm putting the blame a lot more on people who read the sites than on the site itself, even though obviously I still blame the site.
I disagree. I still put it absolutely on the site. I think people are a huge part of why they continue to do that, and people can be seen as a tool to get them to stop doing that. If you encourage people to not accept that sort of thing, just exposing stuff for the sake of exposing it without any public interest involved, because as we've been saying, no one needs to know that, they can be used to encourage Gawker to stop, but I don't actually blame them.
The thing is, that's what they're asking for. If they don't get it from Gawker, they get it from another source. And that's another source that will produce exactly the same content. And so it will never stop. If Gawker dies tomorrow, well, people will go read exactly what Gawker used to show on another site or another magazine or whatever else. And so the disease, the
Well, here's
virus,
the
is
thing.
what? What did you say?
There's an individual rights issue in this too, because you have to think about it. If 3 million people want you publicly hanged tomorrow for no reason. Just because there's a lot of people who want that doesn't mean it's their right to make sure that you get publicly hanged for something that doesn't break the law or doesn't, break an ethical code. So it's kind of like, at some point you have to say, yes, the audience is terrible for, giving clicks to this, but that doesn't necessarily condone the action or mean that it should happen, because a lot of people maybe want to read about someone's celebrity open casket, somebody snuck in and took a picture of a dead body at a funeral, and a lot of people might click on it and look at it, or when the whole Robin Williams hoax of his dead photo. But like, just because that would get a lot of clicks doesn't necessarily mean that it should be like that. It's not their fault because that they had to do that. It's just like, well, I have to kill my rich neighbor to also be rich. So it's just like, you've got to be careful with that kind of reasoning.
I think we can take it to an extreme and test this. In black market organ trading, is it the fault of the people who want these organs on the black market, or is it the fault of the person stealing kidneys?
Right.
Who do you put more blame on there?
The thing is, I think it's a bit different in that case, because if the people who want the organs don't get the organs, they're dead. So of course they want the fucking organs.
But if I don't,
let's imagine they just want to eat human flesh.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ! Well,
let's just imagine it. Someone wants.
I totally blame the people who want the human flesh. That they're the ones I blame. Obviously, I blame the ones who sell, but the ones who are the very specific issues, the ones that are the reason this even exists, this market even exists, are the ones who want to eat the flesh. They're the ones who are the issue. They're the ones who have to stop eating the flesh. They should stop eating the flesh, and then there will be no reason for anyone to ever sell human flesh.
What about the person killing? So let's say I murdered people to supply this market. Would it count as a mitigating circumstance that people want to eat that meat?
But I don't see how that changes my argument. You're at fault. You've committed a crime. You've committed something terrible, and you're to blame for that. But if you stop killing people for this very specific thing that people are asking for, well, someone else will come and say, hey guys, I'm ready to kill people as well to sell the meat, and so it will never stop. This is my issue. The issue is, where did it come from? Why is it even happening? Why does the system is the way it is? The system is the way it is because everybody wants the system to be that way. People demand that Gawker and other gossip bullshit celebrity crap, they demand that this content is shared. They are the ones who want this to happen, to take place. And if tomorrow they stop saying they want that, this entire system collapses. They won't because they're stupid or whatever else. I don't know. That's their own fucking problem. Their therapy. But still, they're the ones that are the very cause. They're not the ones who produce the content. They're not the ones who produce the bad stuff, sure, but they're the reason the bad stuff is produced.
The thing is, though, is like, I'm familiar with a lot of, these writing sites and stuff like that. I know quite a few people in that industry, and they have told me that despite what people think, the top performing sites for Gawker aren't these sites that are the rags necessarily. A lot of them have to do with the ones that push hardware and gadgets on people. That's where their money is. So I don't think that it's necessarily a need to do this. I think that they are diversifying their bonds, so to speak, where they're just like, we can make this amount of money here and this amount of money there. They do not need this. Like, Kotaku has been drowning for a long time.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
They are held up by the fact that the other sites make more money and they're padded. Like, people are like, why didn't Kotaku disappear? And it's like, web conglomerate. What are you thinking? You are not going to take them down. You can only force them to change and shapeshift and things like that. Like, you cannot get rid of them. You might be able to eventually, but it's going to be very, very difficult, and you might only dismantle one head of the Hydra. You are not dismantling the whole thing. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you haven't done all you can. It just means that, you know, this is a lot bigger than one single thing is, and I don't think that they get the excuse that, oh, they wouldn't survive if they didn't do this, and they wouldn't, you know, they have to do it or somebody else will. There's a lot of sites that actually won't do it because it is actually quite risky.
Well, yeah, consider the people who could do it but aren't.
Right.
I'm not at all excusing Gawker and all of the sites for
Of
what they're
course
doing.
not.
But again, I'm trying to I'm talking about the source. It's like you're talking about the symptoms. The symptoms is Gawker is a shit site, is terrible. They should be ashamed of themselves, and they should just go drown somewhere, I guess, and film themselves while they do it because everyone wants to enjoy this, apparently. But that's the symptom. Gawker is shit. The virus, the disease, where the symptoms are coming from, why the symptoms are happening, is people who read Gawker, people who want the kind of content Gawker produces. And again, Gawker dies tomorrow, the symptoms stop tomorrow. Well, they will happen again, but on another place, on another site, from someone else. And I'm not at all dismissing the fact that people who do this kind of stuff are terrible. They are fucking awful. I hate them. I find this disgusting. But it won't stop. It will never stop until people who want this kind of stuff don't stop wanting this kind of stuff. This is all I'm talking about.
Do you think that would ever happen?
Yeah,
No.
I don't think rubbernecking is gonna stop anytime soon. Like, people look at car accidents when that's like really
Exactly.
Yeah, you might be
I
right.
think there
if
is.
someone just sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm just thinking it's this idea that there is some sort of audience that is looking for that. I think if you just posted something really fucked up with no awareness of an audience or something, you'd get tons of hits.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that if let's look at it on a practical level. I don't think you can put that into trying to arrange my thoughts. Sorry.
Don't worry. Take your time, dear.
If you want change, jump on things like this outing that has pissed people off, and it's gonna be like whack-a-mole. And maybe each time this happens, each time there's something that people think that's gone too far, use that to convince more and more people that this sort of thing going on really is more destructive than it's worth for your entertainment. I don't, however, maybe it's just the terminology, I don't blame people for looking, because I think there's something just in people that you're going to look. If someone puts something horrible up, I don't think you're the kind of person who wants to look for that. You just can't not look.
Right.
I get your point. It's a bit like what this reminds me of. I know this might sound off topic, but it's not. At least to how I understand it. Disney stars. You have Britney Spears, and then you had Miley Cyrus, and then right now you've got Violetta. That's the one, right? And it's obvious that in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, Violetta is going to be a complete slut that fingers herself on stage, and everyone is going to love it or be outraged. But this is specifically because every single time you've had a Disney star, this is how it has gone. It has gone from cute little girl that does cute little things for cute little girl audiences, you know, girls that are 10, 11, 12 and want to look up to the high school girl, and I'm going to be a high school girl just like her when I grew up, and then they become high school girls, and the thing is the star has grown up and she's an adult now, and adults obviously are women who show their boobs and talk about how they fucked 20 men in a row and something like that. 20 men and women, obviously, because being an adult woman means that you're bisexual. This is how it works. Obviously, you know, you fuck everything that moves. I'm not even saying that's bad. Personally, I don't mind this kind of stuff. I'm still heterosexual. But the fact is still that this is how it works every single time. We have a specific audience of little girls. We want them to look up to teenage girls, and once they become teenage girls themselves, they want to look up to adults. And so we're going to pander to them exactly the same way, because there's always a new generation of little girls, and there's always a new generation of teenage girls, and that's the issue. You can't force teenage girls to not want to be adults. Can't force little girls to not want to be high school girls. They want to be grown up. They want to be able to say that they are adults in a way, that they are bigger than they are. They want to be taken seriously as well, because they're human beings. Everybody wants that. And so Disney will always use that. Because there's always a new audience for that. There's always exactly the same audience, like Call of Duty kinds of games. You'll always have teenage boys that will think that, hey, it's an 18-plus game, therefore it's a game for adults, because there's 18-plus written on the box. Even though it's a childish game, it's boring as fuck, holy hell. But, they can say, hey, I'm totally an adult because I'm playing an adult game. I watched a porn movie, and the porn movie is for adults, therefore I'm just like an adult. And there's always this kind of new material for this kind of stuff.
Here's the thing, though. As a business, you have massive resources, and you have, at least a business like Gawker, you have massive resources. You have the ability to destroy someone's life. I can't go hire a PI for $100,000 to destroy anyone, but Gawker can. So when you have that, when you're in the receipt of public money, people are giving you those clicks and giving you that revenue and buying the hardware via affiliate links and stuff like that, and you are using that money to destroy someone's life. No amount of consumers themselves as a group can be like, oh, but us 300 million people as a whole just need to stop looking at this tomorrow. You're not going to reach everyone fast enough for them to have a blackout. It's just not reasonable. So when you have someone that has that massive amount of resources, that massive amount of resources comes with a massive amount of responsibility on your part, which means if you have the power to crush someone like an ant, you're going to have the chains of somebody who is a giant monster basically around you. That's just kind of how it works. And I'm not saying that consumers are never responsible and they should never choose to. I would love it if everyone stopped going to them tomorrow. I would absolutely love watching that burn, because I think they're awful. But that's not reasonable, and it will take 10, 20, 30 years for people to make a site that figures out a way to do it better. And I think they should. I think that's part of the three-pronged attack. But I do think that if you're using your massive power to destroy someone who's actually a whole lot smaller than you, your responsibility, it goes through the roof on that issue. So your responsibility exceeds that of the responsibility of hundreds of thousands of people to just not look at a car accident.
Here's a thought. So far, I think we've been talking about the side of demand, the side of supply. We've been thinking, can you get consumers to stop wanting that, or people who read this to stop wanting that, or can you convince the people who supply that to do something else instead? How about if you really wanted to stop this, what if you considered journalists who do that sort of thing fair game, and you made a site dedicated just to fucking up journalists who do that?
Right.
Do what they do to other people to them. Do you think that could stop it?
I do.
Yeah. I get your point.
And if someone engages in the Gawker style, expose anything if it's true, does that make them fair game to do that to them?
I see what you mean. The fight
could you
fire with
justify,
fire.
If someone goes, so and so did this, and you go, here's a picture of them cheating on their girlfriend or wife. Boom. If you could get a hold of that.
And that's again where the resources thing comes in too, is you have to be powerful enough to do that.
True.
And most people are not. So that's just, I've known people who have tried to hire private investigators for information that wasn't, salacious, and it's expensive. It's very expensive. Like, just to track down a missing family member, I mean, you're talking hundreds of $1,000s and things like that. Like, it's just, and I'm not one of these people that's like, oh my God, my corporations is all corporation-y and they make money. Tim Robbins, I don't complain about that stuff, but I do accept the higher level of responsibility. And I think if Gawker can accept that higher level of responsibility, they shouldn't do it. They should just, bow out.
Mm. I'm a Frenchie, so I'm a bit biased, but to me, I'd rather law. That there was a law written that said, no, this is not allowed, this is allowed. But that means I'm a socialist, of course.
I think that could cause problems, because while Gawker abused their ability to put up controversial stuff in this instance, I think if you clamped down on it, a law could go too far and stop people from publishing stuff that actually is kind of dodgy, but also definitely in the public's interest.
Yeah,
like about politicians and things like that.
Yeah, I think it could go too far in the other way.
The point of justice is as well to kind of measure according to society's moral codes and all that, and context and all this, if indeed the law was fair in this case or not. I don't know. It reminds me a bit of perhaps in America you heard of it as well. Something like a year or two ago, there was a tabloid, gossip magazine. I fucking hate those things. I understand why we had book burnings. When I watch this kind of magazines, I understand why anyone would want to burn books. And you had one that found out that François Hollande, the French president, had gone out with a French actress, Julie Gaillet, and apparently they fucked, even though he was supposedly in a relationship at the time. And the thing is, every fucking body talked about it. Every fucking where in the news and everything, everyone talked about it. Constantly. You couldn't turn your TV on, you couldn't discuss anything online with other French people without it being a topic of conversation. Even though it was just some Frenchie who fucked another girl. Like, it was the first time this kind of stuff happened. Sure. But it was the president, so I guess maybe there was more relevance. And I don't know. It was gossip. And people lapped this shit up. To me, it was infuriating. Like, why the I don't want to know that. I don't need to know that. Is he doing a good work with low riding and all this? No. Today we're going about what kind of helmet he was wearing on that bike. This shit. Who fucking cares?
Wait, hang on. So you're talking about the president?
Yeah, the president of France.
I think if you are a politician of any kind, almost, you have to forfeit that right to privacy. To some degree, I think it's much better to lean on the side of you can say shit about them that is not in the public interest, just to make sure you don't have politicians putting stuff in place that protects them against things that are relevant to the public interest.
Yeah, right there I'm going to put kind of a line as well. Another example is with another French president as well. We're kind of kinky fucktards. That's incredible. It was in a tabloid as well. And it was with Jacques Chirac. So we have François Hollande right now. We had Sarkozy before. Fuck Sarkozy. And we had Jacques Chirac right before him. And basically, on holiday, the French president all the time they go to a specific place that really is only for the French president. And we found there was a picture in a tabloid of Jacques Chirac naked with his dick flapping out, and because he was living his life with his wife during his holiday, and so he was naked at the top of the castle, and yeah, he was living his fucking life. And do they have the right to show that? Does he not have a right to not show his junk to the rest of the fucking planet?
I think there's no reason to, but I also think, what would you put in place to say you can't do that, and how would that not potentially impede on things that people should know?
But we don't need to know that, and that's
Here's
obvious.
the problem. If you say you can't release naked pictures of him, and then there's a naked picture of him doing something like, killing puppies and sacrificing them to the devil, now you
Which he
can't
did.
publish that picture because he's naked, right?
Yeah, but
So all he
in
has
that
to do
case,
is commit crimes naked, and now you can't post anything about him.
yeah, no, that's an American mindset right there, because
I'm not American.
yeah, I know, but in America you'd find a legal loophole, but in France, I swear to God, judges would just, if you came there and you said, well, they released this picture of me naked, so they weren't allowed to, judges would just call him a fucking douchebag and tell him to fuck off immediately. Never the law. Yeah, indeed, the law says that, and you still murdered those kittens, so fuck you. And in that case, you can just say, hey, newspaper, don't release the picture with his junk out. Just put a blur on there, or the face of a baby right there, and we're good. And that's it. So legal loophole, I don't give credence to legal loopholes. I don't trust. I don't believe in legal loopholes like that. I don't
It's
know.
not. I don't know if I'd call it a loophole, but more a law being too heavy, and it might discourage journalists from doing something. Even if it discourages them from doing something, maybe that's too much. Maybe do you want to have journalists hesitating in any way to cover politicians?
Yeah, I do.
You want
I
journalists
want
hesitating to cover
journalists to
politicians?
hesitate before they release a story. I want them to consider the responsibility of their job, and that, yes, is it a good idea if I am putting this out there? I want them to weigh in the gravity of of their topic, of what they're going to talk about, etc. Especially if it's something that needs to be out there. I
Take
want
this
them
angle. Take this angle. What is the harm of seeing the president's dick? How much does that hurt him?
It doesn't hurt me, but I do assume that it hurts him.
Well, was it small?
Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, I totally definitely remember the size of my president's dick at the time, of course. I don't know,
Look, John,
dude. Holy shit.
that is France's dick.
Yeah,
That
you're
dick
right.
represents
You're right.
France.
I have to put a picture of it on my wall, on all of my walls, because this was Jack Chirac's dick. You're right. I'm sorry.
Was it more of a baguette or a croissant?
Well, it was more of a raisin spaghetti. I'm not
Sorry,
going to
what?
explain what I mean with that.
Oh, good, because I was. What, did he have fucking warts?
Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Why? Oh, the fucking shit. Again, I'm going to ask the question, why did we invite this guy here?
Because he's the best, that's why.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. But no, yeah, again, I know it makes things difficult for journalists, that they have to be wary of what they put out there and all of this. But I still consider that it's a good thing, because they have, just like Jennifer said, and just like Uncle Ben said as well, with great power comes great responsibility. I know my stuff.
When you said Uncle Ben, I thought you meant the rice guy, and I was really confused.
But do you not have any sort of hesitance about the idea of government having a hand in how journalists write about government?
No, I perfectly get what you mean, but the thing is, I believe there is a notion of compromise that is possible. The idea that a journalist has to be responsible and under the law as well, but that they should be free. And there is a possibility to do both. I believe there is a possibility to do both. And I know that might seem a bit bullshit and even maybe socialist of me, but I am under a socialist president, and therefore I have to be a socialist, otherwise I go to the gulag, you know, to the French gulag. But yeah, I believe there is the idea that government can write the laws, but the thing is as well that you have a separation of powers. So once the law has been written, a president doesn't have a say in what is legal and what isn't. Or if a journalist shows something and he says, hey, I don't like that, well, yeah, fuck off, president. If you don't like that, that's the law's job from now on. And I don't know, maybe it's a bit of an utopia or something like that, or an idealist way of thinking, but yeah, in a way, I still believe that there needs to be some form of control over the way journalism is done.
How would you write out those laws? Is what I want to ask. Would you be able to make up a law right now? What would it say roughly?
That you have to be aware to be able to weigh the difference between the importance of the information and the effects it's going to have, the importance and the consequences.
And who's going to be measuring that to decide if they've broken that rule? Is it going to be judges?
I'd say there's no other choice than
what if they're
doing
reporting
the
on
law.
judges? What if journalists need to report on the corruption of, let's say there's some huge problem with all the judges and journalists expose that. Is the court going to have the ability to revoke that and just say, no, you can't do that, strike it down?
You're right. The only choice is to have to trust in the law and to trust the justice system. And in France, it's a bit difficult indeed.
Because to me, to some degree, the press is there almost to protect us from government. I see that almost as one of the press's jobs, or a job it can have, and to act as something to protect and serve the people. Protect and serve, that sounds like the fucking police. To serve the public, and I don't like the idea of anything getting in the way of them being able to do that. I don't like the idea of government being above them in that way. And I think it should be reserved for individual instances where there has been harm caused.
I'll be honest, I think that's a very cultural cleavage right there between you and me, and the fact that I'm French and I have a very lefty culture of giving a lot of power and control to the government, and trusting the government for most things more than in America. America would consider France to be communist as fuck. Holy shit. Even though communism doesn't really exist anymore in France either, to be honest. But the way us Frenchies indeed tend to think is that government control is a good thing, can be a very positive thing. Yeah, it's a bit strange, I'd assume, but again, you're entirely right with the example of, if, for example, judges are the judiciary system is extremely corrupt, how does a journalist report on such a thing? In France, to be fair, that's pretty much every single country on earth nowadays. We only have 4 newspapers that are entirely independent. And the thing is that one of them, Le Canard Enchaîné, it's called, is it's completely independent. It's been going for like a century, something like that, and it never had advertisement. It never needed advertisement, etc. It never got the money with that, so it's entirely independent. And the thing is, they have been sued so fucking often for some of the information they have shared, and to my knowledge, they have never lost a single time, specifically because they were responsible with the information they were sharing. Every single time they went to court over information they shared about a politician and all that, every single time they won, because they had actual journalistic ethics.
Okay, John, here's one for you.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Would these laws only pertain to journalists, people you could call a journalist?
Well, I do think that there should be laws that indeed are relevant only for people who work in journalism, yeah.
And what does it mean to be a journalist now, in the day where you can put something online and have it spread all over the world?
Yeah,
in an instant.
That's a good question.
And should there be laws against lying about politicians? And in that case, should anyone on social media not be allowed to say things that aren't true about politicians in case it spreads in the same way the press would?
I get what you mean. I definitely get what you mean. And the thing is, that's also part of why there should be laws that only work on journalists themselves. Because
But how do you decide who's a journalist? What if someone just goes, I'm not a journalist? What do you think of the idea that any individual can do journalism?
Not all individuals can do journalism.
They can be bloggers.
Yeah, and blogger, even journalists. Oh, Jesus fucking
Well,
Christ.
there's
Yeah,
the thing
you
now.
get
Is
into
Gawker a
problem.
blogger or are they journalist?
Well, they are journalists when they can feel self-important, and they are bloggers when they can say, "Hey, we're just saying doing that for fun. You know, we're just sharing
When
opinions."
they post a picture of the president's dick, they're a blogger, so that's all right. They can do that.
Exactly. Jesus
Do you
Christ.
not think that you could argue that journalism is more about what the piece of work is?
Uh,
Because you could say you're a journalist and then not everything they do is journalism, is it?
yeah, definitely.
Could you not
Definitely.
be a journalist but still produce a piece of journalism?
But in a way, it's like saying being a politician as well. How do you define being a politician? And you said that if you're a politician, then you don't have as many rights to privacy and all of that. And then in that case, if someone calls themselves a politicians, does that mean that all of a sudden we're allowed, even if they're just politicians in their
There's a
minds?
legal definition of politician, though. You
Yeah.
have to be
There's a
attempting to
legal
run for or
definition of
holding
journalist as
office.
well. There's a legal definition of journalist as well.
No, there's not anymore,
I don't believe so.
unfortunately.
Oh, really? I don't know.
No, in most
Why wouldn't
places
there be?
there was you had to be working for a paper, but because of the internet, that's been completely destroyed.
Oh, no.
Because, like, imagine if I did what Gawker did to that guy. Would it not count as being... What would it count as? If I published that article that Gawker published, how would you treat it differently to Gawker having published it?
Well, I call it garbage because it's on Gawker, but
Like,
I
if
don't
I
know.
did
That's
that, but I just did it on my channel, what would it be?
a good question. That's a good question. I'm
And
not entirely sure.
It's quite fucky, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's interesting because indeed we're in an age, we're in a time where these definitions need to be revised, need to be re-verified and worked on, worked with. I perfectly get what you mean.
Like, journalists don't have to register with a party like a politician does, or even like register as an independent politician. Like, there's nothing like that.
I can't remember. I can't remember if in France we have that kind of stuff actually.
You might.
I think in France we have journalist cards. A journalist has to carry a journalist card around, but maybe we got rid of
Anyone
that.
here can get a press pass. As long as you have a site, you can get a press pass. So yeah, that doesn't work here.
No, but I think that's really something with legal weight. I think we had
Wait,
that.
you're saying they have to have
I'm sure we
have a card to do journalism?
basically, that's a card that allows them to do journalism work freely. Because you have more power when you're a journalist. When you come to someone and you say, "Hey, I'm a journalist. I'd like to interview you or do something on this or that topic," you have more power than just saying, "Hey, I have a blog. Would you be interested?"
Wait, this
in this or that?"
is this? Wait, hang on. In France, are you saying that is this government-issued journalist cards?
I can't tell.
What is
I'm
this?
sorry.
Because
I'm
that sounds
really
like a
sorry.
really bad idea.
I'm not knowledgeable enough to. It's not government. It's definitely not government. That's for
Oh
sure.
right, I see.
But that's something.
Because I was going to say France sounds pretty dystopian if that's something that happens.
But I think it was something that there was an organization, a journalistic organization that controlled who had a diploma and this kind of stuff. But again, I'm not at all an expert on this. I didn't look it up before the stream, so don't take my word for it. I apologize for that, for my ignorance. I will whip myself with pleasure.
Flagellate yourself with a baguette.
Jesus fucking Christ. Go back eating your burger. Anyway, do you have anything else to add, guys? On this
Not
topic?
especially. Talking about getting more respect as a journalist. Games journalism is a joke, and here's an example of why it's a joke. Talking about you have more power and you can get interviews and blah blah blah. I was one of the people involved with goodgamers.us,
Oh, yeah.
and
Oh,
I just interviewed people and said, not interviewed, like emailed them and said, we're a new site, blah blah blah. And some people do listen to that and they're like, okay, here, have a press copy, or okay, we'll do an interview. And that sort of opened my eyes to how much bullshit everything is.
Yeah.
yeah, I fucking loved Good Gamers. I'm so sad that it ended. Really, it was a fucking awesome site. I really liked it.
It was just I think it was just because it was a free time thing and no one had enough. Basically, no one had enough time to do it like that. Bunch of us do our own stuff, obviously.
That's a shame that it ended. Really,
It's not actually. I don't think it's actually that sad because everyone's just doing stuff they want to do.
Of course, but it's just the fact that in the case of video games specifically, I'm used to reviews being either someone being quirky and making silly jokes here and there, or someone being completely clueless about video games, how they work, what they're about, etc. So either it was just some silly stuff and we had fun with it, or it was complete utter bollocks. And the thing is, you have papers, you have sites, etc., about movies, about literature, and all that are very serious, that are extremely cultivated, extremely competent, extremely knowledgeable. And to video games, you had no such thing. And I read Good Gamers, and I found exactly that in some reviews or some interviews and all that. And I remember an interview of Macmillan. And it was, at some point, they started talking about music, about specific...
Oh, wait, no, that wasn't Macmillan. That was Matthias Bossi, the guy who did music for Rebirth.
Oh, that's right. My apologies.
That was me.
Oh, well...
Yeah. I remember your avatar there. Yeah, you've read my writing.
Oh, holy shit. That's quite the fucking coincidence.
Yeah, that was me. That's my article. And that's what I'm talking about. I literally just emailed him, and he was like, okay, I'll talk to you.
Yeah. To be fair, when you start, that's pretty much how you're forced to start when you're starting something.
I think a lot of people, but what I'm saying is I think a lot of people have this view that you need to be extremely and you need to be official and blah blah blah, when it's really just literally anyone send an email to someone and say, I've got a site that fucking no one looks at, do you want to chat? And they will a lot of the time.
Yep.
I get what you mean.
I was incredibly ignorant before that.
It's really hard to get on a big site, and to be quite honest, the big sites do not convert into sales like they used to. And I don't even know if it was that case before, but like I know someone who got on Kotaku and they told me it converted to 2 sales in a 30-day period that came back from Kotaku, and they have pretty good tracking stuff now, so it's not like, oh, this person just exited the window and went and bought it somewhere else. Their sales didn't increase and their trackbacks were literally 2. It just, that was it. And it just, too many game developers rely on these external sites for promotion, and because of that, like, if you contact them, they will be like, yes, please, because they think no matter what site it is, it's some kind of golden ticket, and then they throw a tantrum that nobody supports them and say that gamers have to die. And we know how that works out.
Let's not mention the forbidden word, but yeah, I get what you mean. I definitely get what you mean. And also, again, Mr. Opinions, I'm really glad to meet you. And
nice to meet you too.
I really liked the fact that I could have something cultivated about gaming, about the idea that video games weren't simply taken seriously, but were taken as a culture form, as something cultural and cultivated, and that had inspirations in other media and relevance in other media and all of that. And so yeah, I liked Good Gamers for that very aspect personally.
Great.
Anyway.
A lot of these other sites that try to do culture site. Well, I say other sites. Obviously, I'm just on my own now doing YouTube stuff. But a lot of these sites that talk about games, game culture, they're right about it's cool to look at it like that. but they just fucking suck at doing it.
Exactly. There are people who have never opened a book.
And they come at it with a conclusion.
Oh, holy shit! And that reminds me of Gone Home. Gone Home isn't even such a bad game. It's just a game. It's slightly generic. It has nothing very special, nothing very innovative. It's just a game. The guys that made the game wanted to tell a specific story. They told a specific story, and that was it. But the game was praised at this very huge, like the gaming had changed after Gone Home and all that, and it was just a game. Like, have you ever read another book? Have you ever read, like, even on the mere notion of they held it because it touched upon homosexuality? It didn't touch upon homosexuality. There was the girl that loved another girl, and the thing is, had one of them been a boy, had it been a heterosexual relationship, that would have changed zero thing about the entire story. So that's completely irrelevant to the quality of the story regardless. But even then, like, you have a Stefan Zweig who wrote a book, spoiler alert, it's called The Confusion of Sentiments. I suppose that's the English name, La Confusion des Sentiments in French. And it's an absolute masterpiece, like everything that Stefan Zweig wrote, and it's about homosexuality. There is homosexuality involved, and it's a book that was written in 1927, by the way. Try to imagine how homosexuality was considered at the time. You could go to fucking jail, by the way, if you even just mentioned this kind of stuff.
It actually wasn't even considered a legitimate sexual identity. It was considered an act.
Yeah,
it was just something that straight men did occasionally. It wasn't actually considered something that you could be, really.
But that was even you could be punished. You could go to jail. You could go to court for the simple fact, for the simple notion of talking about it. Even just talking about it in your story was enough. And the guy who wrote a story, and that was one of the most heartbreaking love stories that I've ever read in my entire life.
So, John, I have something for you. You're talking about the idea, the story, just touching on homosexuality being done in the past. Have you noticed that so many of these games they call groundbreaking and new are old as shit in their idea, the way they work?
Yeah.
Like they're super old.
They're nothing new. They're nothing new.
I think they're deliberately going for stuff that's old, and the reason they want to get rid of gamers is so that they can get people who don't realize it's old, have only seen Call of Duty, and think the old shit is new. And then they have this backlog of stuff that they can copy and pretend is new to this ignorant audience.
And they can do that. They just can't be lazy about marketing it. That's what they hate, is they want to, they do want to capitalize on the audience that's here. But then at the same time, they hate, baby games. Like, they hate stuff like Nintendo, even though Nintendo's where most of the new market has come from in the last, few years since the Wii. The Wii exploded the population of people that played games. It is one of the single most changing, people may not like it, or they, whatever.
I dig the Wii. I'm a fan of the Wii.
Yeah, I was too. But a lot of people miss that, like, it brought a lot of new people that a lot of us had no idea what to do with. But then we realized, hey, these people haven't played games before, so they're not tired of all this stuff. Let's try this. Let's try that. I mean, I didn't personally want to get into that, but that's where a lot of the indie devs came from, is they're people who are rehashing old stuff because the bigger companies have too much money to bother with that little market. So they, like Super Crate Box and a bunch of other stuff, they're all games from even Commodore 64 era that they're just rehashing and, being like, oh, I didn't need to be a gamer to make this game. It's like, but you took advantage of something that has existed for a very long time.
For a long time,
I thought about that way, about the interpreting it as cashing it on the ignorance of some people, who haven't.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. That's what shovelware is. That is what all shovelware is.
That's very interesting.
I used to write for a guitar blog. I was a sort of shadow writer, so it didn't have my name on it. And what I had to do was take old shit and make it seem like it was hyper exciting. Check out this new guitar trick. and just selling ignorant people old shit
Right.
as
Oh,
new.
man.
So you need to target the audience that doesn't know about it. And I think that's simply what they're doing. They're doing a sales pitch kind of thing. They're trying to
Right.
draw in ignorant people and sell them old shit for their friends, I
Right.
guess, in some cases.
I just like to quote someone in the chat, something that deserves to be quoted. Claire Morris in the chat that said, "Gone Home reminds me of my own coming out experience, tedious, embarrassing, awkward, and notable because it involved gayness." That's pretty much it.
I see. Gone Home is like and retweet if you get this. Only 90s kids will get this. The game.
Yeah, it's oh my God, yeah, that is very true.
What's sad about the game is that it's not even bad. It's just
No.
nothing notable. It's a game. They wanted to tell a story, and they told the story. I guess that's it.
Yeah, I had it. It was fine and whatever. What makes me so outspoken about my hatred of it is the press. I don't actually hate it, but
Exactly.
the press makes me pissed off because it's so much bullshit.
That's like Sunset, the game Sunset. There was such a huge thing around it. It's not a terrible game. It's just
No, I
a
played
game.
it. I found it fucking horrible. It did my head in. I couldn't stand it. It was so
Well,
boring.
it's extremely pretentious, sure, but
Yeah,
it's
I
not.
couldn't take it. John, it's too much for a normal human being to stand.
Okay, I get you.
This isn't normal pretension. This is like giga pretension.
Yeah, that was kind of pretentious. I guess I'm a bit more resistant to pretentiousness because I'm French, so I'm
Of
more
course,
used
of
to this
course.
kind of stuff.
And the shit when you're doing the chores and then it says like washing dishes and you see the cityscape. Just remind me of RuneScape where you click go fishing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's crazy.
do you have something you want to add, Jen? Sorry.
I just what like it intensely bothers me that like Jason and I slave away at this game, and if people didn't like it, we would be pretty depressed, sure, but I would never be like, wow, you guys just don't get me, like I was a 16-year-old
It's your
girl
fault.
again. And I
Gardening
just
is the future. If everyone had a vegetarian lifestyle, the world would be a better place. It would have
right.
less threat from global warming, everyone would be healthier, animals would be happy and free. You have to like this game because of that.
Yeah.
That's how you should market the game, indeed, Jen.
Well, buy this game if you feel guilty about murdering cows. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, apparently you're great at drawing cow butts or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my job today.
Exactly.
It's just and here's the thing. I started being a game developer at 19. Now think about how immature you would have been at 19. Okay. We're all immature at that age. And I acted like I didn't get it a lot then, but I learned really quick. That's what gets me. I learned quicker at 19 that you can't do that than they have. And these people are in like their 30s and they don't get it. And I'm just like
they never grew up. They never grew up.
And I can't fathom it. I'm just like, wow, I can imagine if I took that business practice and just like ran with it for 13 years.
Yeah, it's very, in a way, it's no surprise that it ended the way it ended, but it's still kind of, how do these people end up being these people?
Yeah,
anyway.
I can't understand this shit. It is the opposite of me. I'm too intensely focused on stuff to the point where I hurt myself doing stuff because I do it too much.
Same, yeah.
Like I get a whim. I don't just get a whim and then try a bit and stop. I get a whim and then I get to the point where I can talk well about it with other people who are experts and shit like that, and it's almost self-destructive, and I can't not do it.
Well, here's the thing, and a lot of people don't get. Like, I did a blog recently for an HTML5 animation thing. It's called Animatron, and like, I was trying to explain to people in the blog, like, you can't just be focused on your game, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to make the best game ever, and everyone's going to love it, and blah, 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 or focus on a narrative like diversity. Like, people are over that already. They're just like, okay, great. You should just do that anyway. It shouldn't be a marketing point. So that's how things get normalized. But it's just like, people focus so intensely on getting their game done, and they get into this bubble where they're like, this is going to be great, I just have to get it done, I just have to get it done, and they forget to talk to the people that are supposed to buy it. Like,
They're
completely
doing it only for themselves.
Right, and some of them are not bad. They're not bad people, but like,
They're
I've
kind of
heard some
treating
people.
it like a lottery ticket.
Right, and it is a lottery ticket to a point, because there's always that degree of probability, but at the same time, like, I've even noticed people that, like, I know that just really, really focused. They're like, this is gonna sell my game, and this is gonna sell my game, and it's like, have you actually talked to the people that like that sort of thing, and if they even want that thing anymore? You know, like, even as Seedscape's development goes along, like, Jason and I do probably about 2 hours worth of research a day, just making sure that people still want this thing to be a certain way. People like this sort of menu. I do research. I play other games that are similar, and I say, where did they screw up? Like, we're not just working on the game, but it's still working on the game. And a lot of people just don't do that. I even saw some guy yesterday who was like, don't compromise your vision ever. And I'm like, compromise your vision. You are trying to make money. You want to make a living at this? Compromise your vision right now.
I don't mind people who are in the mindset of not compromising their personal vision and all of that,
Sure.
as long as they're aware that in that case they risk not getting an audience. They risk having only themselves as an audience.
I'm talking about people complain about things not making money specifically, like, oh my god, this didn't make any money, and it's like,
they treat it like you can only do one thing.
Right.
Almost, is what I see. I see musicians who do that. Like, I'm a musician. Majority of my money comes from teaching. It doesn't come from the stuff I want to do.
Right. And if you want it to, you have to consider what things people want. And the thing is, like, Jason and I literally found something yesterday that has changed one of our plans completely. You know, and I mean, it's the end of July. We still have, quite a few months to go, but to watch something and go, holy crap, here's something we didn't consider, and have it totally change things and make them better, and it's mostly on the marketing end. But if we didn't do that, we would have missed out on something that would really, really add to the game and add to how many people we reach. So it's just like, but I know these people don't do that. They're like, oh, I handed it off to some PR firm and handed half my Kickstarter money off to them. It'll be fine. It's like, other people don't know your product as well as you do, so if you don't learn how to market it yourself, you're in trouble.
You have to be able to be, as a creator, and that's not just for games, of course. I'm in movies myself, and that's something that is absolutely identical. Even as a creator, you have to be able to be an audience. You have to be able to be your own audience as well, and not just the creator.
Right.
That's something that is complicated as well as an artist to convey and understand and
I will say something, and this is something that my teacher drilled into my head in school. You are not your own demographic. Even people who like what you like are not you. So you need to make sure that you are appealing to the taste of the largest amount of people you want possible. Again, if you want to make money. If you don't care, and this is just a thing, and you might hit that lucky, 1% that magically it's a hit without you paying any attention to anyone, that's not likely. So if you want a sustainable anything, that kind of has to be, you have to care about what other people want. And I just think we're living in an age, and this relates to, the free speech and my feelings and all this other stuff. We live in an age where people just, like, they clock in, they clock out of their minds mentally, and they just think, I'm entitled to something because I worked really hard on it. And it's like, No. You can work really hard breaking rocks outside your house all day. It is not going to make you a better house. It's not going to make your house better. It's not going to make your life better. You probably have bloody hands and, you're dirty and you need to shower and that's it. And, like, hard work is not the same thing as effective work. And I also think that's the case with, like, the Gawker stuff, too, is, like, we can't assume that they're doing it because it's making money. We have to assume that they're doing it because this is my hard work and I'm entitled to something for this.
Is it fair to say that they lack discipline?
Right.
Exactly. I'd like to pass to the next thing I wanted to discuss. It's been an hour and a half since we discussed it. We've discussed Gawker for more than an hour. Gawker and then all this other stuff like rape. We totally needed to discuss this. Oh,
Same
and
difference.
French President Dix, of course. So sorry, I'm getting to the next part. I wanted to discuss something that is very close to my heart. I wanted to discuss. I don't know if everybody knows about Andrew Dobson or Tom Preston. In case you don't know, he's basically the very example you can use to describe a self-important artist that is absolutely incapable online
shit, Dobson.
to
Is that
grasp
the guy
criticism and
koala avatar?
any kind of commentary on their work. What do you want to say, Zoe?
Is Dobson the guy with this sort of blue koala avatar?
Yeah, that's a blue bear.
Oh, right.
With
Oh,
the
shit.
finger
Yes,
up.
I do know him.
Of course you do. Everybody knows this kind of person, that puts out some art online, and you say, "Hey, that's nice," but I think you could have done this that way, and this way, the joke falls a bit flat, and the art right there, the anatomy is a bit wrong. You should have worked on it a bit more, and they go mad at you, like, "How dare you say that to me? I'm good enough without your opinion. I don't need your opinion, etc." He's this kind of guy. And he's gone through quite a lot of shit because he's basically only e-famous. That's what he is, and he's been mocked and he's been criticized a lot, specifically because he's a guy that is just kind of a fucking asshole, like, Jesus fucking Christ, you're an artist and you refuse anyone to even mention your art if it's not literally nothing but positive. But anyway, recently on Twitter he went on sort of a rant. I'm going to read what he shared on Twitter. He's talking about the character Quiet from Metal Gear Solid 5, which hasn't even come out yet. And it's a character that is extremely, extremely sexualized, really a lot. And so
there's a toy of her with squishy boobs.
Yeah, exactly. The toy has squishy boobs, which is extremely important for the plot of the story. But the thing is, the character is extremely sexualized, and people are going ballistic over that fact, even though Metal Gear Solid is a series that has always, always, always fooled around with sexuality and nudity and all of that stuff. Always, with male and female characters alike. So that's a bit strange that all of a sudden people are outraged about it. Anyway. He's talking about that. Here's what he said on Twitter. If the rumors about Metal Gear Solid's Quiet are true, I think we need to, as a nation, collectively take Japan to sensitivity training. Maybe it was okay for Japan to be all isolated and ignorant about other races, genders, etc., but not now, not in 2015 with the internet. I wish when some content comes from Japan and it is horribly offensive, we didn't just shrug our shoulders and say, that's just their culture. If you're gonna export your media to the rest of the world, you have to understand your work will be criticized by the rest of the world. Japan needs to engage with the rest of the world on equal footing. Ignorance about things involving transgender people is unacceptable. Right there, he's talking about a literal rumor and supposition that Quiet is transgender. There is nothing that indicates that, but some people imagine that's the case, and that's sufficient to go following with that. And he ends, And I really wish gamers could have the fucking balls to call out a great artist like Kojima when he does something offensive. Right there, this fucking little prick of a cunt is saying that as soon as you are not abiding by American moral codes,
Yep.
you are not just offensive, you are someone that needs to go to sensitivity training, to moral class. This little fucking asshole is literally stating that if the rest of the world is not following America's moral codes, you are wrong, you are bad, and you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm just fucking livid over the idea that this fucktard exists on this planet. I don't really mind when it's some prick saying, oh, Pokemon is satanic. I can laugh in their faces. This dude is supposed to be an artist himself. This dude is supposed to strive for the growth and the betterment of art overall. And this guy is stating you are daring to show something that is morally acceptable in my views, and therefore you should be fixed. You should be an American colony, by the way, in some way. Culturally, you should follow my codes, otherwise you're fucking evil and you're going to go to hell. I just wish this guy burned. Like, this makes me so intensely mad. I'm French, so maybe I am a bit biased as well, because we have a lot of art and culture and content that is very far from following moral codes. Holy fucking shit, this man has never in his life watched a French movie to state this kind of stuff. But how can someone really fucking grow up and end up stating that the way Japan functions as a culture, artistically, culturally, etc., is morally wrong according to their own fucking views, their own American ultra-puritanistic views, and therefore they should be fixed? How does
America,
fucking work?
World Art Police.
This is incredible to me because I'm used to that from America, but I'm used to that with, other zealots, people who are, oh my God, you dared speak about religion the wrong way. How did you dare talk about God that way? It's awful. You're going to go to hell, etc. I'm used to being called a Satanist. Well, not myself being called a Satanist, but considered satanic because I'm French, And French doesn't respect religion in the fucking slightest. Holy Jesus Christ! Since it's been a while, and so I don't mind crazy zealots like that. But this dude isn't just saying that you're going to go to hell because you insulted God. He's saying you didn't think the way I did, and therefore you're wrong, and therefore you're terrible. How does he function as a human being? Holy shit! I'm mad.
Meanwhile, in Japan, there's someone really angry that this guy is drawing art without enough tentacles. He needs to realize that if he's going to put it onto the world stage, he needs to think about Japan standards.
Yeah, I think this guy is really bad and just trying to stay relevant because I've seen fan art to make fun of him that looks like way better than his stuff, and I'm not saying I'm the greatest artist or anything, but holy crap, if you're gonna throw stones, you better have something behind yourself, because the thing is you can't stop people from making offensive stuff because number one, they can't prove it caused harm. Number two, even if it does, you still can't stop it because everything just turns into a gray blob. It was art. It was art.
How do you make something that isn't offensive to anyone?
Right. And in art is one of the reasons that people started to be accepting of exploring certain concepts in sexuality, and old paintings used to be the only way you saw a woman naked before you were married. I mean, you didn't even know what one looked like. So I just and to see that Japan needs to become more accepting of things and understanding why, they seem to be doing just fine compared to
your example of paintings made me think of The Birth of the World. It's a very famous painting. It's literally a pussy. It's open legs, and you have a vagina, a hairy vagina, and it's a painting. And it was I don't really remember when it was painted, but it was quite a while ago. And it's a naked pussy, a naked hairy pussy, and it's a very beautiful painting. And again, the title is "The Birth of the World," and the birth of humanity. We all come from this. Yes, you're going to find this offensive. Yes, you're going to find this dirty or some other shit like that. But this is where we're coming from, and so there was a statement behind it, and there was something strong behind it. And I can't imagine the fact that 200 years ago, people were shocked about it and demanded the guy's head. Sure, I get that. Today, there would still be people who would call him evil and demand his head for drawing this kind of painting. If the creator released this painting today, he'd be called a fucking awful human being and should be hung. Like
Depends.
even today.
Depends on who drew it, I guess. But yeah, like I've seen some pretty gross.
The word's origin, my bad. It's not the word's birth, it's the word's origin. And it's by Gustave Courbet in 1866. Try to imagine how fucking well received, well accepted the painting must have been in 1866. Holy shit. Anyway.
I have a deep distrust of people who try to target art as the place to curtail expression first. Art and comedy, if someone goes for that, I do not fucking trust them, because that to me is the space designated for anything that would be dangerous anywhere else to talk about. You can get away with it there.
Exactly.
If someone's trying to fuck with it there, I suspect they have ulterior motives and they want to spread that elsewhere and try to get rid of ideas.
Well, I call it, I have a saying, I refer to it as smashing the mirror, because it's like saying I'm ugly, so if I break all the mirrors in my house, I'll be attractive. It's like, well, no, you won't. And a mirror is just reflecting someone's feelings about something. They may or may not reflect reality, so you can't say that, they're influencing reality when they're a reflection of a reality somebody's probably living, even if it's ridiculous. It's just, you can't use art to fix something that doesn't exist to begin with. So to be like, oh my god, all these dragons in science fiction, aren't you just like inviting dragons in? And it's just like, no,
it's
that's not real.
Mr. Opinions at the beginning mentioned the fact that art influences reality, and that's a bit mind-blowing to me, because that's the very opposite. That's reality that dictates how art functions. People base everything, every emotion, every representation, symbol, etc. in art on reality, on the way reality is interpreted, etc. That's reality that decides how art functions.
No, I'm not saying that art affects reality like that. What I'm saying is, it's saying, so when something starts getting blocked off in everyday life, I think there's an increased chance that people will be tempted to do it in the creative sphere, because you can get away with more there. You can cover.
I wasn't talking about.
Right.
You were being sarcastic at the beginning of the stream. I was just.
Oh, at the very beginning. Never mind. Sorry,
Yeah.
I misunderstood what you're talking about.
No problem, dear. That's just really. It's like pedophilia, for example. Pedophilia is an extremely taboo topic, especially this last decades. It's become basically even worse than a Nazi. And the thing is, we have so many books and movies and even songs and all that are about pedophilia, that are about even just not necessarily encouraging pedophilia, but very clearly embellishing pedophilia. Maybe you've heard of a French singer that is called Serge Gainsbourg. He made a song called Lemon Incest. He wrote the song and he directed the music video himself. And in the music video, he has his own daughter that was, I think, 12 at the time, in a very boyish outfit and haircut. And they were both laying, him and his daughter. They were laying on a mattress, and the entire music video is extremely erotic. Again, this is his real life daughter I'm talking about, who was 12 at the time, and the song is called Lemon Incest, and the chorus, sung by his daughter herself, is the love that we will never make is the most exquisite, the most beautiful, the most etc. etc. You get the point. And this is something like, holy fucking shit. The dude is she's caressing his chest during the song. She's kissing him on the cheeks, but in a very soft way, you know, like extremely. You feel uneasy when you realize that it's his fucking daughter. And the fact is that complete idiots will say, oh, he's saying that fucking your own daughter is right, it's a beautiful thing, etc. Which is not at all the point. The point of the song is to show the difficulty when you love someone. You love someone, you love them dearly, and you are close to them, and you get physical with them. And when Serge Gainsbourg is someone that fucked every
John,
single.
is this turning into an admission?
What?
Is this turning into an admission?
No. Let me explain. Serge Gainsbourg was someone that fucked every single woman he found, even those he didn't love. And the thing is, with his daughter, he kissed her, he held her hand, he hugged her, etc., like he would any other woman. But he didn't have sex with his own daughter. Of course not. He would never have sex with his own daughter. Yet he loved her like he loved other women. And this was this duality of a father and saying, I love my daughter and I will never love her like other women. How does it work? How does it work in my emotions, in my mind, etc., in my heart, that we function in this relationship of immense love? We love each other so fucking much, and yet we will never share this love that way because she's my daughter. And so he was playing with this difficulty, with this line, with this very grim and heavy line of I love her like any other woman, and yet with her it's never going to happen. This is what it means. The duality of love between a father and a daughter, and it's still love. This is what it means. But people watch. I remember watching the music video that was subbed in English, and every single American that watched the video was, oh my god, this is terrible. Oh, the man is fucking evil. Oh, this is what France works with. Oh my god, France is a terrible country and culture and all that. And people didn't even try to grasp what he was talking about. And that's a song. If you ever dare shit talk Lemon Incest in France, people will tell you what's wrong with you. Because, by the way, even just musically, it's a brilliant song. Anyway, that was my rant.
Okay.
There we go, everyone. John Kraft admitting to incest.
Yeah, with my own daughter, of course. Which I totally have, definitely. But again, my point is, yes, there are
So what you're
things
saying is, it's a song about how he fucks his daughter but can't fuck other women.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. In France,
Like,
you are
he
allowed
loves-
to fuck your daughter. But
He
by
loves
the way,
other women the same way, but he just can't get it up for someone who isn't in his family. So that's the trouble.
well, those are the only women who bear my mere existence, women in my family. So, well, they're the only ones that are available, you know, I guess. But you know, in France, incest is not illegal.
Good to know.
But regardless, again, my point wasn't fuck your daughter. My point was even offensive things. Tell a story, share something, and it's a good thing that they offend us. It's a good thing that they are telling us the story of someone else. Lolita by Nabokov is a story of Humbert. How do you pronounce it in English, you weirdos? And it's a story of a man who is definitely attracted to little girls and definitely fucks a little girl, and almost fucks at the very beginning of the story. He talks about how he was nearly sold like an 8-year-old girl to fuck at some point. Like, holy shit, that is fucking awful. And yet that is a very strong book, and that's a book that specialists like literature fans, heavy readers, they say yes, you have to read Lolita, you have to read Nabokov, even though it contains this awful, quote-unquote awful content.
Cool.
And that's yeah, go on. I'm listening.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't have much to add. Yeah, sure. To cover absolutely anything in creative work.
yeah, that's just, you know what annoys me with Dobson is he's the guy who is on this moral crusade, and he's the man
He
that
makes no attempt. He makes no attempt to engage with things on their own terms.
there's not just
Would that be
that.
fair to say?
You need to know that the man used to be a porn artist, and he drew
Inflation
a lot
porn.
of inflation art, which is a very special kind of fetish, you know. And morally, it's not something very acceptable, and yet he still drew it. So why should he feel allowed to draw this kind of stuff, and someone else is not allowed to show something unconventional as well?
It shows the world the strange dichotomy between how he can inflate women who aren't in his family, but he can't inflate his daughter.
Why the fuck did we invite this guy? Jesus shit!
Because this is hilarious.
He wasn't fucking a baguette, okay? He wasn't!
Why not?
Swear to God.
But
Okay,
was he packing a baguette?
I guess
A
this is how
baguette
we're
on a
going to
motor.
end this stream, okay?
Just a baguette on a motor going in and out.
Okay.
What the flying fuck? Holy shit. Next time, I'm the one who chooses the guest, Jen, okay? I choose who's the guest. You don't.
Check out the link I put in the chat.
But I'm good at it.
Anyway, I did invite Dean, and he made a great job. He was very polite, very showing off his art, and he
And you
was.
didn't talk about your baguette.
Fuck off. Anyway, I'm not really mad. Don't worry. I'm just pretending. I'm a really great actor, you know, because I'm French, so therefore I'm good at all types of art. I guess that's how we're going to end our stream on shit talking Dobson. I don't mind ending the stream on this. Do you guys have anything you'd like to add?
Don't touch your daughter. Don't actually do
Yes.
that. That is just for
Ever.
art.
This was, oh, fuck's sake, this is, oh, Jesus Christ. I bet you're going to have so many people on Twitter hit me up and say, hey, don't fuck your daughter, don't fuck your baguette and all that. Oh, this is the reputation.
Don't hide your baguette at the family bakery, okay?
Oh.
That's the lesson.
You're just awful people. Anyway, if this is all you wanted to add, thanks a lot for adding that. Sure.
You're welcome.
I'd like to thank Dean for his art, for his work, for showing off what he's doing. Thanks a lot for coming there, dude. I'd like to thank Harmful Opinions, who is a very busy man. I'm sure he is. And
Thank you for inviting me.
it was really a pleasure, man. I know I'm pretending to be mad and, oh, how dare you say these things about friends and me and my daughter, but I'm really glad that we were there, and thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for your presence and your insight, dude.
Always like having fun on streams. If you ever want me on again in the future, I would be glad to come.
Well, I will remember that. Thanks a lot. And obviously, I thank you, Jennifer, for being such a kind co-host, or even host, I should say. It's always nicer to have a conversation with people who are smart enough to have it, especially when you're an idiot yourself.
All right.
I'm not talking about you, Jennifer. I'm the idiot. I'm depreciating myself. Not you. Don't worry. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Why did I add this last piece of comment? Oh, fuck.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for coming and seeing the president's penis, and yeah, that's it.
I'd like to remind everyone, no stream next week. But thanks a lot for being there this week. Thanks a lot for being present and caring and watching and commenting. Thank you everyone, a lot.
All right.